What's going on, Reclaim Fit family? It's your boy, Reclaim King, here with Adame, the one and only, the savage, the king out in Paris out there, you know what I'm saying, with the Jay-Z Kanye reference, right? So we got Adame with us. We're gonna talk about a little bit of fitness, a little bit of family, a little bit of lifestyle, a lot of bit of leadership. So if you have questions, as always, throw them in the chat. Whether it's for myself or him, we'll tackle them both. I'll answer them, when the opportunities present themselves. And we're going to get to know this fine gentleman that I have the honor to know. I've said it before. I know a lot of rad people. I'm trying to put them on, and I just find it extremely neat that or cool, whatever word you want to use, that things like this can live on forever. Like this, for good, bad, or indifferent, the internet is not only undefeated, it's forever. Selfishly, I wanted to pick his brain. Selfishly, I also wanted to produce content for the group that in the community we're trying to build. So this is Reclaim Fit, right? Podcast, YouTube, Facebook live video, however you're consuming this information, break out a pen, get your notepad out, have a seat, and don't worry about it. If the kids are listening, they're going to learn some things too. We're going to do our best to keep it clean. All right. So, Adame, first and foremost, man, I say this to everybody. Time is the one thing you can never get back. You are literally giving me, you're literally giving this group your time. I'm honored. I'm blessed. And I just want to say thank you. You're doing this, which means you're not doing something else. And I know you're a busy guy. So just thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Now I know who you are. I know the quality individual that's sitting on the other end of this call with me, but some of the people in the group may not know. So if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and introduce yourself, little bit of your story, and whatever comes to mind.
Awesome. Well, firstly, man, just thank you. You opening up this platform is amazing. Bringing in some of the awesome individuals that you know and that I've been able to watch, like Bill and Danielle. Those are great people, and so for you to bring that level of person and keep me in that same breath, I do appreciate you. Um, so I'm Chris Adame. I'm from Fresno, California. It's a little spot in the valley. I left out of there in 2000 and who knows, I don't know. Before I was really a teenager, went to Sacramento, stayed there for a few years, ended up going to the Bay Area, joined the Army out of San Francisco in 2007. With the GED, just got my GED. So, I was happy to do something else. Um, Went to basic training, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, 13 Bravo by trade. Um, by the December of that year, I started my first deployment out of Hawaii, went to Iraq. Um, came back, did another one, decided to go home. And that's kind of where I think the story, really gets interesting. But essentially, got out, was done with the Army, hated everything about it, complete rejection. Eventually realized that that wasn't what was in my heart, joined the reserve, um, got employment with a really, really awesome veteran service nonprofit organization because I was a client because I needed the support. And from there, met some really, really cool people. Learned the importance of networking, which will, kind of surface itself later in the story. But um, really, I had one goal was to be a drill sergeant, right? And so, if you know anything about me, uh, I really, really wanted to be a drill sergeant. That was it. And so we, of course, met at the Drill Sergeant Academy, and that was a result of when I was on active duty. That's all I wanted to do. Couldn't do it because I didn't have enough time in service. And so I was just like, I'm done. So fast forward, the program exists in the reserves. I joined the reserve, and things took a weird twist, but ultimately it led me to making it to the Drill Sergeant Academy, serving as a drill sergeant first, and eventually, moving on to be reserve or not reserve, but senior drill sergeant leader at the academy, the chief of training for a time, and moved on to be an active duty recruiter. And that was the transition. I said, let me get back into the business that pays me and join the reserve again. So now I'm a reserve first sergeant. I'm a first sergeant in the reserves for a drill sergeant unit. And also my civilian employment is I'm public affairs for Wells Fargo. And quick disclaimer: I do not represent them anyway at this during this call. And so that's just about me. I got three beautiful children, lovely wife, and just happy to be able to connect with some awesome people. And just again, thank you for opening this up for me.
No, man, thank you. Thank you. My goal here is to build a community, right? People that we can lean on, ask questions, right? And then I'm limited. I understand that I'm limited, right? So your background, your story, your approach to things, that's the things I'm trying to shine the light on, right? I kind of want to go back to your first deployment. How about what age were you when you were on your first deployment?
19.
Okay, 19. So like some of those formidable years, right, where like younger and you kind of have this thing to like handle and overcome. Do you feel that that was beneficial as far as like your maturation process? Do you feel like because you had to go do a thing you've never done before and it's kind of like a hero's arc in a sense, right? Like, oh man, like you train up for it, you have to do it, actively do it, and then you have to overcome it, and then you have to deal with it, handle it. Do you think that played a pivotal role in not being just like another 19-year-old punk?
The short answer, yes, right? But we'll go long form here.
Okay.
Um, I am a result of every single decision I've made, every community input, whether good or bad. And like that particular time, um, you know, if I look at that time as just a period of 2007 to 2009, um, I wouldn't be able to say like, oh, that was some formidable experience, and that changed my life. But in the grand scheme of how it all interweaves and interplays, like absolutely, and it was a pivotal part in whatever that next evolution was,
Yeah.
and whatever that next milestone was, and I think it's great because you meet great people, or you meet people. I won't say everybody's great, right? But you meet people and you see them in different experiences, and in different instances. And I think that was one of those where um, I met a person or two that was like really really impactful in a positive way, and probably built some things that weren't so positive as well because we were in a deployed kind of setting, and certain things that are important when non-deployed are less important when deployed, and so
Hmm.
it's just like it's a balance, right? And so I just kind of put it in the bag and take it with me. But yeah, so that's 19. I will say this though, 19 was interesting because I think I made it from like E1 to E4 during that period. But 2010 to 2011 was the second deployment, and that was coming back for 12 months, however long it was, or 15 months, and then rolling back out. And at that point, now I'm in charge of people's lives and
Hmm.
livelihoods, sergeant. And even then, at that moment in time, I can't say like, wow. It was more so just we're always doing our best to get through it in the moment. We're
Yep,
just
yep.
we're just scratching and clawing to figure it out. And but in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. What kind of organization puts a 21-year-old in charge of people's lives and it be successful? Like that's crazy. But
Yeah,
also super.
absolutely. No, that's you bring up a good point because I want to go back to something you said where like that season of life, that position you were in at that time, and then it morphs, right? Like, oh, I've been over there before. Bet. Are we going back? Cool. Oh, but this time you're a team leader, a squad leader, platoon sergeant. It's like, oh, this is not. I didn't experience this the last time, so some of that carries over, but next to nothing carries over. Um, so obviously the community that I'm trying to build our focus at the moment in this time of in this building phase. It's a new year. People have goals. I want to provide resources and an outlet for them to have accountability and ask questions and that way they don't have any excuse. All right. If you're at my table, you're eating. Right, we got plenty of food. We ain't holding out. Grandma's in the kitchen cooking. You know what I mean? Just whipping it all the good stuff up. We're just giving it out for free. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to cover fitness because the primary focus of this is fitness. However, we have had a couple members bring up leadership. So the second portion of I'm just as for you all who are listening, the second portion of this is the primary focus is going to be leadership because whether or not you realize it, uh, self-development is directly paired with physical training. Okay, because if you're going to get better in the gym, it only makes sense to get better outside of the gym. So leadership and aspects of leadership and just general questions that he and I will ask each other and we'll both answer, and that's going to be the structure for today. So, I do. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover something because I consider you to have always been a fit individual. Now, neither of us are out here breaking world records, and I would say better than average in fitness, obviously. But you're actually in a new season. You're in a new season. You're because you're in a, to me, if you train consistently, I look at myself as an athlete. I don't work out. I train. And that simple shift, that simple like flipping of the switch, right? What does an athlete do? They do it whether they do or don't want to do it. What does an athlete do? They plan their workouts, they plan their training, they get coaches, right? So for me, that's one of the aspects from my personal approach. So when I speak in that framework, I'm introducing, anybody in this community to that framework so they can go ahead and use it for themselves. So
Mhm.
you as an athlete, right? So we got a husband, father, soldier, crushing it in on the civilian side, all these things, right? And still having and maintaining a level of fitness that is well above the average person in the Western world. All that being said, you're in a new season. This athlete is a competitor. And not only is he's a competitor, but he's a competitor, excuse me, and a new venture as far as because again, some of your backstory, you are a combatives instructor. I am as well. I've seen you do your thing. You're good. You're good. um that being again, all things being considered, you now train Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right?
Yes.
And so how many days a week do you train?
Really schedule dependent. Um, and but typically, four a week
Ooh.
if I can. Like this week I was away from my home and getting out pretty late, so I didn't get to get it at all. But me and my kids rolled as soon as I got home. Um, but
Yeah.
real quick before getting really deep into that, because I love that, right? Oos. Is you mentioned what it means to be an athlete and doing the things you don't want to do, man. And what I'd really say is intentionality is what came to mind when you were speaking that. Because I think even when it comes to the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for me, I was kind of like I wanted to be closer to the combatives piece, right? Like, we
Yep.
talked about combatives it's something that's close to my heart. And I wanted to be closer to that because like there's nothing like going onto the mat and somebody being like, hey, but do you train? And
Oh,
like
yep.
you train, bro,
Yep.
and these years I finally have the structure, the space, the resources, whatever to carve that out. And like I was like, okay, I want to do this. And then after rolling a few times, whatnot, I'm like, no, I want to. I set an intention, and that was to compete and do well.
Hmm.
And I did well, but I lost my second match, and that was like for the gold, right, for the championship or whatnot. And it was partly because of the intention I set was too vague. We talk about goals as an athlete, whatnot, and like that was one of those things where I was like, I don't want to do X. And as soon as I was put into X position, since I didn't plan on being there, I didn't plan that contingency. I blanked out. All that training went out the door, and I lost 5 points. Right, and so my next tournaments were my intention is to stay calm, my intention is to breathe, my intention is to see things through, and it's been a complete switch in my competition since then, right? So I just wanted to bring up that point of intentionality.
No, and I love that you tied it into essentially all things, right? Like you have to specifically set time aside, right? You can't, man, you know me, man. You can't talk about it. You got to be about it. If you're talking about it, like I get it in the beginning, I talk about it. Like, okay, I got it. But like if it's a week, if it's 2 weeks, man, like I'll be the first one to tell you, shut up, dude. Like, are you gonna do it? No? All right, well then stop talking to me about it. You're wasting both our
Right.
time. Okay, so so for framework, right? It has BJJ officially taken over all aspects of your training? Like, do you do any additional training as far as like gym, cardio, or is it specifically just BJJ? Because I understand, 4 times a week, like to go lift weights or to go pound pavement with running, like it is very, very difficult for what you're doing in BJJ.
Yeah. So I think as I was preparing for like this call and whatnot, I was really trying to think like where do I fit in, and I recognized that fitness is a spectrum,
Mhm.
right? And then on one side of that spectrum, you have unfit, and then on the other side of that spectrum, you have like you said, world record breaking, kind of performances. And I'm in there, and I was like, it's not as disparate, right? Like
Hmm.
I do BJJ because I would go as far as to say I love it, right? Like I really really enjoy it. My kids enjoy it. It's a part of our, like, it's becoming a part of our family dynamic,
Hmm.
um, which is, after most of my most of my children's lives, they've only known me to not be there, right? Because of, active duty,
Hmm.
just being away and prioritizing work and schools and everything else, right? And so, like, to have something where we can go over together and we both enjoy it in our own ways, it's a really, oh man, refreshing, encouraging thing, right? And so beyond that though, it is hard. I do not make a lot of time for other things unless I set the intention.
Yep.
And what that means is, like, BJJ is almost a given that if I'm not working, I'm going, right.
Yep.
Like if I can get to the location at 6 p.m., that's when I'm going. It's happening every day. Kids, you can come or not. It's up to you, right?
Yep.
Um, but when it comes to like other training, New Year's Eve or New Year's right motivation, whatnot. Um, I just picked up and did a 10K. Um, it was a trail 10K at that, which, I'm not like one of those guys like, oh, I'm gonna go do this run and I'm gonna look at the route and I'm gonna check the elevation. Nah, man, I show up. We'll see what happens. You know what I mean? And it got me thinking about that spectrum. Over the course of, maybe the last 2 years, I've become a lot more adventurous with my fitness.
Mm.
And I keep a baseline. There's a certain level of running I have to do or cardio I have to do in order to maintain, my ACFT stuff.
Yep.
You know, there's a certain level of strength I have to maintain just for being a functional human man, that I have to do. And so, like, if I can sneak in the gym, whatnot, then I'll do that. But for the most part, it's right now, BJJ is like my favorite thing to do because it doesn't hurt. Um, it doesn't like leave me with super sore joints and, like it's nothing like that, and
Hmm.
I think it's, the gentle art, right? And I think that's really the attractive thing because, for another piece of context, I don't think I've shared this with you, but I am 100% VA service connected as well.
Hmm.
So in the reserves and service connected, you're like, how do you do that? Painfully. Um, and but I'll say that, with the BJJ, like it's so low impact, and it's almost like, um a release run, if you would. Sometimes you can go a little bit harder if you're feeling it, and sometimes you can kind of take it slow and, work on getting the techniques just right. And so it's more like it's a level of physical convenience
Hmm.
with an added mental challenge. Um, so yeah, it's the main thing, but not the only thing all the time.
Yeah. No, that's a bet. And I think understanding that is important, right? Like the thing is, man, I oversimplify as many things as possible because I think people overcomplicate as many things as possible. So like my my advice, man, is do stuff. Do
Hmm.
stuff is move. What is move? Move can be literally take a walk. It can be walk the dogs, walk with your kid, take your wife around the block and just have a conversation. Leave your phones in the house. That can be movement. Movement can be picking up weights. Movement can be attempting to choke out another human being in the appropriate setting, right? Like that it's all movement, right? Yeah, disclaimers there, everybody. It's all movement, right? Like, and then, food. What about food? Well, eat real food. What is real food? Okay. Have you ever noticed that if you walk on the outside of the grocery store, all of the things you need are on the outside, right? Most of the things you don't need are in the aisles, right? Like go into the aisle, grab what you need, and walk out. Like obviously you need spices and things like that, right? But but it's like don't complicate it. Real food, right? If I can't pronounce any of the ingredients, I probably shouldn't be consuming it, right? Now I'm not gonna go crazy and be like buy this or do that. But hey, it's your life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's your life. I advise you, hey, it's your life, reclaim it. That's me. That's my tagline that I've been using. You know what I mean? But like, hey, like, or at the very least, be aware of what you're doing, right? Before we continue to move on, because you hit so many points that we are bringing up in the conversation, Brock Sampson has a question for you, good sir. He says, can you expand on setting intention to task you are planning to do?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, Brock. Um, Setting intention, yeah. Um, there's many different ways, and that I think you could approach it. But I think to try to be as simple as possible is, you know, there's three frogs on a lily pad, right? And one of the frogs says, I'm thinking about jumping off. How many frogs are on the lily pad? Three, right? Until you actually do the thing, set in motion, start the movement, go towards it, then it's not an intention, right? It's a desire. And we can get into the semantics of it all. And,
Hmm.
maybe the mission is wrong, right? But if you're not moving towards it, even if you don't know what you're doing, right? If you're not moving towards it, you're not gonna get there. And an example is uh, I did my first half marathon after, let me see, 2022. I did my first half marathon, and there was literally, I was sitting in the office one day. I was a recruiter sitting in the office one day. I just finished like, one of my classes for the master's program, and we're like, they submitted it or something, an assignment. And it's like 9 p.m. and I'm just thinking, man, I'm angry, right? Like in my heart, I had this burning desire to do something else other than sit here in an office for 12 hours a day, and I just needed to do something else. So I'm like, boom, I'm gonna do this half marathon. And that was it. Like I knew that if I didn't get it like right then and there, I wouldn't do it. So I went into it to my app, found the half marathon that looked like it was gonna be worth doing. And there was one like 3 hours away. I told my boss, hey, I'm going to be out this day because I'm going to do a half marathon. And everything else kind of fell in place to allow me to do that. Now, the story of when I got there is completely different. I did finish it, but that it was ugly. The baby was born and it was ugly. All right. So,
But
uh,
you what I like you're hitting on such a key point. So I have we all got a variety of things going on, but I was on a talk last night with some young men, and not getting into specifics here, but what one thing I advised them to do was close the gap between the distance of thought and action. Right? Now, is that going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Shout out. So we got Deanie Taylor is watching. I got the notification here. Shout out to you, uh, Taylor, because she helped me run a race before. So like just like you said, right? Like you said, so check this out real quick. So I had a race picked out and she had heard me talking about it, and she goes, hey, so like why aren't you gonna do it? I was like, oh, because we got work on Saturday. So I can't. She's like, I'm pretty sure they'll let you like miss it for that. Like we can cover down. We have enough people. Nah, I don't, and I don't want to be that guy. Y'all are down a person, this, that, the third. And she's like, literally, I got you. She goes to Senior Sandoval. She brought up the race. She said, Kyle's gonna do this. I'm gonna cover it down. He won't be here on Saturday. Now, uh, Danielle, who I had as our first guest, she agreed. She's like, all right, bet, because she's a runner, she's an athlete, she trains. She's like, yeah, Kyle, you can go do it. And I'm like, all right, now I have to do it, right?
yeah,
Sign up, pay the
yeah,
fee, boom. Didn't check
yeah,
the route like you, right? Like you had said, I didn't check the route. It was 2+ hours away. And I even forgot my running shoes in the office. Morning of, Taylor drives to the gate, the side gate that's closed on weekends, throws my shoes over the fence. I catch them and make it to the race barely on time. My wife and I Zoom 2 hours to the northern South Carolina for me to run my very first ultra marathon. So I'm
oh
like
man,
I'm running late, didn't pack snacks, didn't have my shoes, didn't want to let my coworkers down. And what's crazy was because the thing is like it was like one of those things. I had to talk. I was like, all right, bet. Sit down, pull up the computer, marathons, boom. Wait, this marathon is hosting an ultra? Well, if I could run 26.2 miles, I could probably run five more, like maybe. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know,
So me, I go full send. So I went, bet I'm running an ultra,
yeah,
click, right? Bro,
that's
I
what's
brought
up.
I brought more things to that race for my wife, who was waiting for me the entire time, God bless her soul, than I did for
Yeah,
myself, and I was running it. And I'm not built like a runner. So literally every time we're doing laps, it's South Carolina heat on concrete. We're doing laps. I'm the biggest dude there, and every time I come across, the guy's going, "What are you doing here?" Like the guy with the mic, the MC. He's like, "Why?" I ended up taking third, I believe, for my age group and my range. But again, like imagine like Deanie had to throw me my shoes because I didn't even bring them home with me. Like
Yeah.
my wife is sitting there for hours on end waiting for me to run 32 and a half miles. Like, uh, Danielle like gave me the day off so I can go do this thing, and y'all backed me up because y'all were down a man that day. You know what I mean? And like I didn't tell anybody but those two people that knew and my wife. Like I didn't. I literally had a thought and I closed the distance between thought and action, and that led into so many other things. I've run significantly more races. I've done other types of events, but I realized that like I just have to start the thing. Like
Yeah.
sitting down and doing this talk brother, takes how long? We'll be on this call an hour, maybe a little more, whatever, whatever we end up doing. Doing it takes that amount of time. Getting you and I to agree to a time to finally sit down and have a conversation could potentially take years. The book's already
Right.
written. The book's already written, but it may not be published for years because you never started writing.
Right. 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 No, like first off, shout out to Taylor.
Shout
Really
out to
do.
Taylor, dude.
I've got nothing but love for you. But when it comes to for one, we talked about it shortly before getting on the call. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, um, things work in your favor. Unexpected things, like you name it, you know what I mean? And they manifest in different ways. And my mom, she would always say, just stay obedient. And like, and I know we'll touch on this, but like I'm not an extremely like spiritual person or connected to any religion or whatnot. But she was, and she'd be like, just stay obedient. And for the longest time, I'd be like, yo, I don't know what you're talking about. I just got to go out there and do it. Like it'll get done if I do it. And after years of us kind of like going back and forth on this, she moved in with us while we were in South Carolina, and I looked at her one day like when things were like really rolling, and I was like, I get it. I just got to stay obedient, like to whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
just go and close that distance and just go for it, whatever it is. Just keep moving. And so yeah, I think that's really important because the universe, people around you will support once your intentions are set and you're acting on them.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
We were literally talking about that before we hopped on the call.
Yeah. And that's it, man. Like if we were to talk about my transition, which, I again want to make sure we're talking about all of the fitness pieces because I think there's some real depth there too. But if we were to talk about that transition from my active duty time as a recruiter,
Mm-hmm.
um, into my reserve time, my current period, um, it's 100% like just keep pushing forward. Things will work out. Things will clear out, and you just have to stay obedient to it. Um, but before going there, I'll say that uh, one of the differences between my time right now and doing BJJ, or even like right now, I'm going to be switching my intention on another physical goal, which is the Norwegian ruck march.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, ruck march is actually my like weakest physical fitness aspect. Like it just my body mechanics, everything just doesn't work for it. Right. Um, that's a reality, but that isn't the way. I don't have to discount my ability for that. Right.
Yep.
Like you can anything or to most things. And I don't think that one's outside of my purview. But taking that step back, man, it's the intention of saying I'm going from this to that and then working towards it, right? But when I was in recruiting, I probably was the most consistent I've ever been when it came to getting physically fit and staying physically fit, staying
Mm-hmm.
physically active. But the issue was I didn't have intention behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up with injuries. I ended up frustrated because I wasn't enjoying the work or the work environment, and nor was I enjoying the, being kept away from the one thing that was keeping me somewhat level, And so, coming in and like really asking myself, in the last like year, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind it? And once I started answering those questions, um, and I really think once I started doing something that answered those questions for me,
Mm-hmm.
I started recognizing like this is fun. And in order to be a better competitor, I have to have my cardio. In order to be at a certain weight class, I got to be mindful because I may be 5'6", right, on a good day, but I'm also about 195 pounds. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty close to 200, and you would think like I'm pudgy. I'm not. You would never tell that I'm
Yeah.
195, but
100%.
that's what I am. And so I have to be mindful that if I go into that 202 weight class, those are some big ones. You know what I mean? And so I have to be mindful, like, okay, what am I putting in my body? What am I consuming? And and what does my output look like when I do consume those things? So there's a level of mindfulness that comes with all of this, even if it's not as, I would say, not structured as, like, some of your other guests and you specifically.
No, I think you bring up so many points, man, and there's honestly like if you guys are listening, man, and you're not taking some notes, like this is y'all keep seeing me look down. I'm looking at the comments. I got my notebook over here to the right, and I got an iPad to the left. Like I'm out here learning. Like and everybody's structure is different though. Like I have my way, and I have what's worked for me, and that's ever evolving and adapting. But like why wouldn't I find other high performers and pick their brain? Like you got to where you're at by doing what you did. It may not be
Mm,
my way, but to say I'm not going to learn anything from you, like,
right.
can I possibly make another like a more egotistical statement? It's just insane. Like you have people available. Like I'm leveraging like we're currently leveraging technology to have this conversation. Like
Yeah.
technology could be the devil, you know what I mean? But it could also be like the most helpful thing within your life.
100.
Um we have three, so we're getting a lot of comments. I know you're not on Facebook right now, obviously, but so I want to cover. So what we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna take a brief second. We're gonna address some of the comments that you have here, and then we're gonna continue on because I don't want these to get buried because I imagine that there's gonna be a lot more coming in. So somebody said in response. So one of the first questions, again, this is Brock. Brock, you're crushing it, brother. Keep asking, man. We'll definitely close out after this. We're gonna close out with questions. All right. So I have them all here. I'm logging them. I'm making sure I'm tracking them so we don't lose them. All right. So Adame, what would you how would you define hold on, I had it right here. Sorry, guys. Sorry. It is I even got tagged in it again, so I didn't forget. What does it mean to be a warrior athlete?
Mm, that's a great question. And I think when we talk about any of these things, we have to have a shared understanding, right? Parameters. Um, and in the simplest terms, if you are in the warrior caste, the warrior class, whatever that
Mhm.
means to you, if you're in the military, right? There are standards. And in order to not be a liability, being as far away from the bottom end of those standards as you can possibly be is a service to you and those around you. Um, and so I think that's what it means is being an asset physically, and not just physically, but including physically,
Mhm.
and being able to shoot, move, communicate, at least well enough to evade the enemy or scare them, right?
Yep, yep.
Pick up things and put them behind things, drag heavy things, and really that's what it is don't be a liability. And that means having a certain level of fitness that prevents you from being the first one down if avoidable.
No, I agree 100%. I don't I don't know. So my personal philosophy aligns with something like warrior athlete. But my actual philosophy would be something more along the line of warrior poet. And the
Mm,
best example that I could use to answer this question would be again, I'll go back to the call that I had like this was 2 weeks ago with the guys I'm talking to. If anybody's ever seen the movie Braveheart, William Wallace.
mm,
Um, Now, what if you're not familiar, essentially, this gentleman lost his wife in a very tragic way and decides to turn the country upside down on its head because it was being ruled in a manner of which was not suitable for his people. That's an oversimplification of the movie. The thing is, the reason why I absolutely love it is because Adami, you've seen it or no?
I have not.
Braveheart?
I,
Oh man, put it on the list. Write this down.
okay.
So but what I love about the film is the character that they're portraying, and there is historical data to this man. He did exist. Um, is he understood the situations that he was in. He lost his father early on due to them trying to be rebellious. So when it's his turn to try and be a rebel, he goes, "Nope, I know what it costs. I'm not doing it." Right? He loses his wife in a tragic way. And again, I'm not giving any spoilers. It literally happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie. And it's in history. So there you go. But um, he loses his wife, immediately seeks revenge.
Hmm.
But in order to seek revenge, he has to get people that have been, beat down for generations to stand on their own feet and bring him to. but everybody's messaging is different. He has a
Hmm.
mentor that taught him Latin, taught him Greek, taught him ancient writings, taught him philosophy, but also taught him the sword, right? He tells him when he's a young boy, he says, first I'll teach you to use this, then I'll teach you to use this, right? He's the sword. So my personal approach to warrior athlete is more warrior poet. It's, am I capable in every situation that I find myself in? Now, that
Hmm.
could be as a father, that could be as a husband, that could be as a brother, that could be as a friend, that could be as a coworker, right? And all of the things that that entails. Like there's a time and a place to drag some skulls. Absolutely. Like come against my family and good luck seeing if you're going to walk away. You have now you have put my family in danger. You have now relieved your ability to your right to breathe.
Hmm.
Like it's that
Hmm.
simple. Like good luck. Like if you're testing
Hmm.
that aspect, you're testing the wrong one. I need to be capable of that. I need to train for that. I need to know how to do that. But I also need to be able to, again, close the distance. I'm driving, heaven forbid the car messes up. We have no cell service. There's a gas station 2 miles down the road. It's freezing cold. My baby's in the back seat. My wife's in the front seat. They're going to be cold while I try and go get help. Can I
Right.
close the distance in a reasonable amount of time?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I don't want to, not only do I not want to be a liability, at the bare minimum, I don't want to be a liability, but I want to be the most capable in the areas that I have deemed important because there's going to be things that people, you gravitate towards based on how you are, your temperament, your character, your integrity, all these things are going to, if they're in alignment, you know the things that are important to you and you maximize those things. You don't ignore weaknesses, you increase their ability to get better over time in a structured manner, right? So I love that you said warrior athlete. My approach is a little different. Like I just ask you to just make it a little bigger, ask yourself a deeper question, and truly, truly pursue that.
Yeah.
Um, so we have Hey You. He's saying, unfortunately, I don't have that type of support in my life because Deanie said, hey, surround yourself with people that back you up. He said, I gotta get it on my own. Along the way, support came, but it's taking a while. First, Hey You, this is what this group is for. The group is for
Yeah.
support. Put your
Yeah.
videos, put your comments, put your questions. Be active on here. And you have been attending this call is being active on here. So you may not be able to have those people around you because you haven't found them yet. They're on their way, I promise you. Like those prayers will be answered, I promise you. Knock and you will find. The door will be opened. Seek and you'll find. Um, but what you can do now is eliminate the opposite that is in your life. So if you have people not supporting you, people not backing you up, people you can't lean on, right? You can eliminate them, and that's a net positive. Keeping them in your life is a net negative. How do you feel about
Mm.
that, Adame?
Yeah. Man, I actually want to address both of those. I think those are just really, really profound interjections. Um, and so warrior poet, the one thing I'll just kind of like add to that was you being the most capable, and you said with family, with in all situations, right? And one of the things that I took from combatives was that same concept,
Mhm.
right? um the defining characteristic of a warrior is the willingness to close with the enemy, right? And that enemy is literally any challenge, obstacle that you're facing. Do you have the heart to close with it, right?
Mhm.
And that's the thing, is that you're not always expected to win, but you're expected to fight, right? And that
Facts.
transition to what I would say to Hey You, which is keep taking action, right? You keep taking the action that you need to, and that you can, and like Kyle said, those people are on the way. We're here, in all aspects. But that network will grow around you. Just organically, and those are the people you want. We can look at others and say, oh man, they're surrounded by people, and we can envy what they have. But like, I don't have a lot of people I consider friends, but I also don't sit down and talk with people who I don't consider friends. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
I don't need a lot of them. I just need good ones. And I met Kyle when I was, what, 32. Like, that means I did 32 years without somebody like him, without somebody like Taylor, and without just some of the other great people in that circle. And those people are all people that I love and respect to this day, who I feel love and respect me, which is, I
Mhm.
think, the most thing when you're talking about who is there and isn't. And if they're not doing that, hey man, meet feet.
Yep. Who you have around, who you don't have around you might be more important than who you do have around you. Because if you're
Oh man.
if you're selective, you know what I'm saying? Like if I can filter you out, because like to me, if I rock with you, I ain't got to worry about you. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't, that is literally a worry and a concern I don't have. But to
Hmm.
get to that point, you have to be vetted, right? The
Yeah.
events have to be vetted. The things I'm consuming need to be vetted. Whether it's news, whether it's media, whether it's books, whether it's movies, whether it's music, all has to be vetted. If you're coming in here, dog, like if you're getting close to this, if you're getting
Hmm.
close to this, nah, you're getting you get hey, we sitting down, we having a conversation, we're unpacking all of the boxes before you come on in. And if you made it through that process, you know I'm rocking with you till the day I die. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And you know what's wild about it is you never even know what it looks like, right?
Facts.
I I have a bit of a memory where it's more like how you make me feel versus like what you did, right? But there's people I know that remember exactly what you did, and that's what sticks to their mind. And so I have a like one of my lifelong friends at this point. um I don't even know why we rock with each other, right? Like I just know like I rock with him, you know what I mean? And he told this story a couple of years ago, and he said basically, he left AIT, and we went at the same duty station, and I guess it was raining, and he was carrying some bags from the PX, and I guess I just walked up and like, hey, let me get those for you.
Hmm.
That was it. And so from that point on, every time I move to a city, he comes through, he comes and checks in on the family. He shares a birthday with my son, like things like that. And people really, really like, they have that connection. And like, I just thought I liked the dude. You know what I mean? Like he's a
Hmm.
cool guy, but like you said, it's like that vetting process. It looks different for people. But at the end of the day, is when they're there, you know what I mean? They're there, they're official, they're solid. And when they're not there, there's a reason.
100%. The final comment for now, as far as the comments are concerned, we'll close out with comments. I'll go through them again. I don't want anybody to feel like they can't ask anything. Ask away, ask away. But Deanie is giving you a shout out, brother. She goes, "Can we get Chief to spit a line for us, though?" Uh,
Ah,
she says, "Wonderful chat, gents. Thank you for bringing us together and offering some alignment for the humans and warrior athletes. God bless you. Thank you for your kind words. As always, they're super kind. Deanie, we're getting you on a call. Don't you worry. We're gonna get you scheduled. But hey, Chief, you got a line for us or what?"
nah, man, I ain't got nothing. I didn't have anything prepared. Nothing that's updated with the recent thoughts. You know what I will leave you with bars. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna spit. We're gonna drop bars
Bars.
regardless.
All right. All right, brother. No, I'm excited. I'm happy to do it, man. All right. So what do you got? What do you wanna ask away or what? How you wanna do this?
Yeah, man. So yeah, absolutely. I want to ask. I'm flipping the script real quick. Got it over here. I feel like we should drop the.
Yeah.
Um,
I need the sound
um,
effects. We're upgrading, y'all. Y'all don't see it. I got it blurred out for a reason. We upgrading. All right. We're started from the
that's
bottom. You know what I'm saying? Now we here.
That's it. That's it, man. Well, I do appreciate again, like you, bringing it on and bringing me on and really, kind of highlighting that fitness journey. And really the fact that like I'm a regular dude doing regular things. And or at least what I feel is regular, but it does mean something to somebody somewhere potentially, right? So appreciate you opening that up.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as flipping that script, man, let's go with what value, and this goes actually, I think, to the last question. What value do you see, if any, in having hype men?
What value, if any, do I see in having hype men?
Yeah, you're a confident dude. You set your own intentions, your own goals, right? But like, what value do you see, if any, in having
Yeah,
hype men?
man. So, look, hey, look, fam, the fam that's on here, you're all a fam to me. All right. So we'll keep it a buck. So that's something that I'm actually struggling with right now. Um, because as it stands, and it is changing. All right. So please take my words for what they are. I don't see value in it personally.
Okay.
The reason why is because like one of the main reasons I created this group was because it's something that I wish I had. I wanted access to people. I wanted to ask questions and seek out because there's just so much information, right? There's so much information, whether it's fitness, whether it's finances, whether it's family, whatever, right? And I know we all have the same questions. We're all just too scared to ask them.
Hmm.
So I put myself out there as a way to communicate and try to provide value because I know everybody on these calls wants to ask questions. They just feel like they're going to be judged or that they can or they'll sound stupid. I finally got over myself, right? And was like, look, you keep having the same situations. You keep having the same conversations. People keep coming to you for certain things. How many times does God need to reveal this to you before you take action? So, in
Hmm.
full transparency, what I'm trying to provide, I feel like I never had. I've had
Hmm.
people along the way show me things, and I've learned from people at a distance. If I were to show you my library of books here, that's the majority of the way of which I've learned.
Mhm.
So that is why I'm shifting focus and I'm trying to provide that. I'm not saying at the end of the day, I'm a guy. I'm not saying I'm the guy, right?
Mm.
And if you ever listen to anything I say, I believe in giving descriptions, not prescriptions. I'm not going to prescribe you anything. I'll describe what I have done and what I have found success with, right? That being said, as I'm transitioning to this role in this phase of my life, I'm realizing that I've actually done everyone here a disservice. I've put it off for years, right?
Mhm.
So I've actually received more love and support in this venture than any other venture, and I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away. I literally can't. I've never could have thought this to be at what it is currently, right? And you could even ask my wife. I tell her on a daily basis, like, I cannot believe that I've received this much love and support. So I'm starting to struggle with the fact of that, like, I'm receiving love and support, but I've operated in a way that I've never needed it because I never felt like I had it. And never is a strong word. I probably shouldn't say never. Um, but there was few times in my life where I had it. Like, obviously my wife loves me. Obviously I have people in my life that have supported me. But with this though, like unpacking, having conversations, being raw, being real, like and like talking about the things that we're sitting up at night concerned and worried about, like actually having conversations about those things.
Yeah.
So personally, I do think depending on where you're at in your journey, it certainly could be a massive, massive help, right? Having a brotherhood, having camaraderie, having a group like this to help in those times of need. 100% it is a net positive, assuming that you have it. What I don't
Right.
want people to take away from that is though, is it is not necessarily needed. My
Mm.
When it comes to leadership for me, the hardest form of leadership is self-leadership. I can't lead others if I can't lead myself. I can try. I'm not going to be as effective. It may not land. And honestly, you'll see the hypocrisy in my words because my actions aren't lining up with it, right? So I would advise everyone, yes, if you can get around like-minded people, do it. Like humans have been around people for generations. It only makes sense. We watch football teams, we watch basketball players play on teams against other teams. The movies like, the Avengers is a team fighting against a common enemy. Like we grab Harry Potter had friends on his way to go try and beat Voldemort. Like come on, y'all. Like Frodo didn't throw the ring in the fire by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so ask yourself, like, why do we gravitate toward these things? It's because it's natural. It's natural to want community. It's natural to want friendship. It's natural to want love. But if you're in a position in life where that may not be available, just understand life comes in seasons, right? If you
Mhm.
have it, maximize it, leverage it. This is leveraging it. Getting on a Zoom call, recording it, putting ourselves out there. We're leveraging it. If I didn't have this, I would do what I've always done, which is plan it and do it in a way where I understand that I may not have it now and I would love to have it, but I don't have it. And that's a reality. And that's something that I'm going to have to overcome. So
Yeah.
I know it's a long answer to a short question. And it's something that I and myself am currently struggling with to rectify because I was always like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm good. And now people are whether they're reaching out or hyping me up or whatever, I'm like, me? This guy? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you only knew the thoughts going on in my head, you realize that like y'all sometimes I'll be hearing things and I'm like, that's me? You
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like that's this guy. And then I don't I want to honor them because those are kind words. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That is very gracious of them to feel that way. And I'm happy that I could provide value or assist or whatever. But I've operated for so long without it that now I'm like, it's kind of like, ugh, like I'm like, like I don't know how to act. I'm like,
Man,
thanks, thank you.
yeah, no, dude. So man, firstly, thank you for that answer. It was not long, and there's a couple things I'm gonna kind of just touch on. Right, number one, what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is although you started off with like not seeing value in being the hype man, um, I hear that you're becoming the hype man for others in ways, and it's coming to you through that, through just being a connector, being a conduit, being um, somebody who is appreciated for doing the things that you were already going to doing anyways, right? Which leads me to my next thing that I'd like to just touch on. What you said is you put it off for years, and what I'd encourage you. to look at is you did it at the time you're supposed to. And that is why there are people buying in and
Mhm.
supporting, giving you all the response that you're getting now is because it was supposed to be the way it is.
Mhm.
Um, but also, I think you mentioned a really, really interesting thing about struggling with that love and support because you've done without it at a certain level. Um, I think there's some really, really interesting things there. I'm no psychologist, but I just think it's really awesome to that's a part of that self leadership you were talking about. I have something that I feel is not optimal and I have to work on it. But the way you have to work on it is through others. That's a
Yep.
weird thing.
Yeah.
You got to develop yourself through others. And that brings up my last thing I'd like to bring up is um, I think one of the things when calling it a hype man and self leadership, um, people around me that I trust, whether for whatever reason, whatnot, it's perspective, right? And so that hype man, if that hype man goes from like, oh, that's fire to like, hey man, are you sure that's how you want to present that?
Mhm.
That's an opportunity for me to go back and audit myself. Not saying that hype man's always right,
Yeah, yeah.
but maybe give me some pause to think, is this and if it is, rock with it, right?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, man, I think you hit a lot of great things on that, and I do appreciate you bringing the community together where you're working on yourself while helping others work on themselves and each other. Because that's what it's all about. The reason we're attracted to teams is because of it relates to our prehistoric roots
Mhm.
of hunting in packs. I'm joking. I don't know if that's true. It sounded good though.
No, I
Uh,
get what you're saying. I get what you're getting at.
but no, I do appreciate what you're doing, man, and I think that you being the hype man is great. I got your book around here. I did finish it on the camping trip, and so like anytime you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be behind you 100%. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna be
Appreciate
your
that.
hype, and I'll also be there to be like, hey, man, I think that was less than fire, but I haven't seen anything less than fuego to give you that. So, but that leads me to my next question, right? Is how does being creative and creating, producing, um, intersect with your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health?
How does creating Okay, well, first off, before we move on, did you and you recap some of the things that I said, but how do you feel about it? The hype man situation.
Oh man, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting concept, right? In recruiting, I felt no more alone than I did it other than one other time, and that was when I transitioned from active duty. And when I say alone, it doesn't matter how many people you have around you. Alone is a state of being, right?
Mhm.
Responded two different ways. I responded two completely different ways because I learned from that first one. That first one was more destructive. The second one was not as destructive, we'll say, right? But in those times where I started questioning myself, um, my leadership, my intent, my understanding, all of those things,
Mhm.
there'd be a random occurrence where somebody would just be like, thank you. I really am so happy that I was able to talk to you about the thing that we talked about. And they weren't necessarily my hype men per se, right? But in that moment, it was a reminder that I am who I'm supposed to be,
Mhm.
or that I'm getting closer to that person I'm supposed to be. So I think hype men play a valuable role in reminding you who you are and what direction you're going, right? And so that goes back to the self leadership. When somebody looks at you and says, "Are you sure?" You might have to question, "Am I sure?" And I think with recruiting, nothing wrong with recruiting, nothing wrong with the command. Like it wasn't a great fit for me because I wasn't a great fit for it, right? And
Mhm.
that's a personal thing that I had to come to terms with. And in those times of coming to terms, that negotiation, if you would, I had to, I had to, I had some hard times where it was like, yo, I think I'm breaking, and I don't think I'm in the right place. I must be doing something wrong. And
Mhm.
a random occurrence, a random person, maybe somebody who I just didn't expect to talk to that day. We crossed paths, and that person reminded me everything that you are is it right now that you're supposed to be. Don't give that up. And that kept me going through. And when I saw that little, the hole in the A gap to run through, um, I did. And that those occurrences started coming more and more.
Hmm.
Those reminders started coming more and more. And then it became like a resurgence. And then I had to remind myself the reason why these people are here reminding you who you're supposed to be is so you don't forget who you are. And that also means going in the other way of being too confident, too comfortable, and start neglecting yourself in different ways. Right. So the hype man, I think, is just a great balancing act of the path you're supposed to be on.
Hmm. No, I agree 100%, man. And I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest takeaways I have from what you said is like he might, like you were like, yo, if it's less than fire, like I'm gonna let you know. And I think there's immense value in that. And I kind of want to flip it on its head a little bit. So as everybody's on this path, right? Physical fitness, like for example, you stop eating certain things. Like we go out and I don't get a beverage, like a beer. Like, oh, what, you too good to have a beer with me? Like I have to be comfortable with those conversations. Oh, we ain't
Yeah.
going out. You ain't going out tonight? Yo, fam, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed, dog. Nothing good happens
Yeah.
after 10 o'clock. We out. You know what I'm saying? Like, or look at Kyle with his meal prep. He can't go to Subway with us. Like, you've seen it, bro. You see me walking around with a book. Look at him reading. Look, oh, what, you gonna read that book? Like, yeah, you're gonna scroll TikTok. I'm gonna read a book. Why don't we both just shut up and do what we got to do? You know what I'm saying? Now, that's the difference between realizing you're gonna hear those things regardless. Now, when it comes from those people, like for example, you telling me, hey, bro, you could have done better. I'm 1000% listening to that. But like a coworker that I'm not close to, yeah, it's not going to land because you're not that to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what I'm potentially, I have to be aware that I'm potentially dealing with your ego. You know what I'm saying? Your inability to handle what I got going on. Like I am trying to level up, right? And if that reveals something in you, that's fine. That's cool. I'm not better than you, right? I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to make my way, right? And the thing is like people don't understand like this journey. Like I'm doing the best that I can to be the best that I can, right? I'm trying the best that I can to be the best that I can. Now,
Mm-hmm.
mind you, so let's keep it simple. My wife is upstairs right now with our newborn baby. The Everything in life is communicating to you at all times, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I realize, because she's going to communicate in a way, I'm going to communicate in a way. If I pay close enough attention, she may not even have to tell me certain things. I'm going to know the areas in which I'm lacking. Let's say I listen to that and I do right by her and I improve.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to feel a type of way because it's going to be like, oh, now you want to da 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 da. I have to be comfortable in myself and be like, yo, you wasn't him. You're trying to be him. You
Mm-hmm.
need to do these actions day after day after day after day while dealing with her saying what she's saying. Oh, by the way, you're the one that gave her the right to feel that way. She
Mm-hmm.
feels the type of way because you, me in this case,
Right.
I wasn't 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may see me lose weight. You may see me do an event. You may see me whatever the insert thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, Adame, now he not only is he training BJJ, he's competing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm growing, dog, and growth is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me, and guess what? It may be uncomfortable for you. But if you not that type of person that's close to me, like
Mm-hmm.
I'll sum it up in this because I don't want to I don't want to get on a soapbox, even though I'm already on a soapbox.
Stay on the box, brother.
I told my wife this one time, one time, and I've never had to have a conversation again because by the grace of God, this woman rocks with me no matter what, and I can never put it into words.
Yes.
We were going through it was a tough there was a tough time we were going through in a variety of ways, and I was in the process of doing a lot of tough things, a lot. Like I was neck deep, and I was crushing myself to pursue growth.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, you're gonna grow, and you don't have a choice. We're signing up for this. We're doing this. We're doing this. You're gonna do this. Either you're going to absolutely fail and lose everything, or you're gonna grow. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I was. And man, she was hitting me with, bro. She was hitting the nail on the head with everything she was saying. Everything, bow, bow, like hitting, like, and it's my wife, so she hit me in spots that like I didn't even know that was there. you know. And I looked at her, bro. I looked at her and I was dead serious. I said, baby, I love you more than anything in this whole entire world. Everything outside that door is working against us. Everything, right? Everything. What I won't stand. is you don't have to verbally support me,
Hmm.
but I can't have you saying what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because
Can't fight you too.
the second you switch up, that hits different. I could like my own brother could say some wild stuff. My wife, dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it's even understanding that look, you're right. I didn't take out the trash. I didn't
Hmm.
organize the garage. I didn't wash the baby. You're right. I'm trying to get better, you know, and you don't need to support me. You don't even got to like what I'm doing. Losing weight, getting stronger, pursuing a degree, getting a certification. But what we ain't finna do is tear each other down.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
It's
it.
that simple, you know? And bro, I literally, like, again, that woman is amazing. She was hand delivered by God. I've never needed to say that again. Not one time.
So, firstly, let me just say, dude, thank you for being so authentic, being vulnerable, and putting that out there. I think vulnerability is just so undervalued, and amongst men, amongst men in the army, amongst men in leadership. Like we can go through all the Western men, whatever, right? Every
Yeah,
category.
all the categories.
Oh, thank you, right? What I'd say to that man is, um, the biggest thing I could say when it comes to that dynamic is communicating and creating a shared understanding, right? And in that case, it may have looked a little bit more volatile or aggressive, or like it went from here to here
Mhm.
relatively quick, right? Which is great, right? Because you got here. Um, and I think and I'd assume, right, if it's anything like my relationship with my wife, who's also just amazing, couldn't have done any of this without her.
Facts.
Um, that once we got to baseline and figured out how far in advance to communicate intention, how far in advance to build like what is the expectation and to frame what phase I'm trying to attack, whatnot, and how to support one another.
Hmm.
Those conversations get a lot easier,
Oh,
right? Like
100%.
you said, never have to go from here to here again. It's
Yep.
more so like, my bad, I'm out, or I won't see you this weekend because I got a tournament. Oh, you're gonna come down, you're gonna sit 5 hours in the stands for me. Roger that. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
but I'm working, and I'm working because, and I've said like damn near verbatim, hey, that whole world out there is, like, that's that's them against us, right? And so we have to be solid here. We have to be solid here. And I'm glad we were able to get solid because, when I think about any of the phases of my life, but specifically joining the army, and like that was the pre-work to that was done, in 1988. You know what I mean? But like, joining the army, um, put me in Hawaii to meet my wife, who then has been on my side for the greater part of like 14, 15 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
no, when the first time when I transitioned out of active duty, um, I got real depressed. I didn't know what depression was. Got real depressed.
Hmm.
Um, Drank a lot, wasn't working, and was just kind of like regressing to this state of being that I hope very few people ever have to, experience. Um, and she stuck through, and she stuck through, which means my kids stuck through, which means that eventually, when I got my things together, or started set the intention to do that and started working to that, toward that intention, and that momentum started clearing up, brother, I'm telling you, the floodgates. I would not have it. I would not have achieved any of this stuff if it wasn't for having that one person there and then getting online with her.
Yep. No, you, bro, and like honestly, I feel like I do want to kind of connect it to the hype man thing because that's one thing I should have said it like that. I don't want to do a disservice to my wife because that's my queen, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like my
Mhm.
house is my kingdom. I'm a king. My name is literally Reclaim King, and one day I'll unpack that. That's my queen. This is our kingdom. You know what I'm saying? My son is a prince. My two sons are princes. I'm preparing them to be young kings, right? Kings when they're older. And that simple shift of, like you said, being intentional, planning, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna be gone for 5 hours. Um, on Saturday, how can I plan my week? Not that I can make up for that 5 hours, but can I be more
Mhm.
intentional Monday through Friday? Because Saturday I'm be out. Yes, I can. Can I
Mhm.
communicate that 2, 3 weeks ahead of time? Can I sit down with my wife and plan our week or things like that? And that simple shift, bro. Like I said, that conversation I had that I didn't have to have again. The conversations you've had with your wife for y'all to be on the same page. Like we're better together than we are apart. You know what I mean? Like I can't, like I'm far more capable when she and I are in sync. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't I continue to feed that? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is this, like, and I say this to I'll try to say this to anybody who's listening. I'll scream it from the rooftops. Like y'all don't understand. Like my bro, and not that it's perfect. Do we still fight and argue? Yeah. My wife, I consider my canary in the coal mine. She chirps, I know something's off. And chirp could
Yeah.
be good or bad. Like I don't look at it a way. Now it might hit or land a certain type of way sometimes, but she's not doing what the outside world is doing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's to the point, like, I'll be like, hey baby, I'm gonna go do this thing. She'll look at me, dog, and be like, kill him. I'm like, say less.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like
Ah,
that's that yo throwback to 300 Gerard Butler. Like that's that
yeah.
come back with your shield or on it type time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'll do absolute like that's built directly into my why, right? So like now if I know why I'm doing it, the how is, bro, line it up. I'm gonna knock it down. And if it don't get knocked down the first time, it'll fall down the 10th time, 11th time,
That,
12th time. You know what I'm saying? Like you people don't understand. Like when you're in alignment, right? Because you might be single listening to this. You might not have people around you. You may not be in that state of your relationship, right? Like y'all might still think competing with each other is cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm people like my marriage is not a competition, dog. You know how I win marriage, Adame?
how's that?
By staying married.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
so
I
far,
don't win marriage by winning arguments. You know what I'm saying? I
right?
win marriage. Like I win fitness by staying fit. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
win marriage by staying married. I win at life by living. Like,
Yes,
yeah, I'm not trying to
yes.
do these singular things that give me a medal or I mean, granted, in certain scenarios, obviously you may receive a medal. Right? Like, um, but whatever. But like being in alignment for like self-leadership. You've heard me say it. The most important style of leadership is
Yeah.
self-leadership. If I unpack who I am and I project who I would like to be and I take those actions. Like just because let's say I'm lazy now doesn't mean I want to be a person that's self-disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lazy. We have self-disciplined. What are the action the self-disciplined person is taking? And then I
Mm-hmm.
backwards plan. And then
Mm-hmm.
I become that person over time. And I
Yep.
adapt and adjust, right? So when you're walking in alignment, like when your relationships, friendships, spousal relationships, work relationships are in alignment, like when your time is organized and intentional, when your
Mm-hmm.
ability, like if you're, because and then there's being around your family and there's being present, not the same thing, right? Like
Let's.
so,
Woo!
so if I'm present in all situations and I'm intentional with my time and I'm striving to be a better version of myself day to day, right? I'm just stacking little blocks, little piece, little piece, little piece. Like good luck stopping that person. Like
Right.
good luck. Like, because you know how many things have to fall in order for that person to fall? All of the things and more that we talked about have to fall out of alignment, which, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
is very easy to do. But again, if I have a standard, if I understand my values and principles, if I know where I'm trying to go, if I know what I'm trying to do, if I'm intentional in speech, intentional in thought, intentional in action, like fam,
Mm-hmm.
like like you really think you finna bother me? Like,
No, and man, look, there's so many things like over the course of this conversation that we've touched on, and and with that, like as we kind of get to that part, and it kind of goes back to what like really inspired this conversation, which was the thread, which
mhm,
was you posted something to the effect of like be yourself in every situation or be the same in every situation, right?
yeah,
Something close.
yep, yeah, yeah,
And I said I disagree, but I have thoughts on it, is what I said.
okay,
Um, and that thought is really encapsulated by what you just said, which is being in alignment, right? And the first thing is being in alignment with yourself, right?
1000%, yep,
Being in alignment with yourself, and then if you're identifying what that next evolution is that you're inspired, to go after. Um, and for anybody who's really here for the fitness piece, right? I'm going to tie this back to fitness, specifically nutrition. Um, I went to a bodybuilding competition one day, not for me, right? I'm not that guy. I'm not him. But I was there, and one of the like the vendors was like walking by. I was walking by him and he goes, "You look like you should do some. You should like you need to work out." I said, "Yo, bro, like what are you talking about? You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And he got my attention, and whatnot, and he was like basically talking about how to like incorporate this food, raw eggs
Yeah.
into food. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm really working on my nutrition, like, but I love honey buns or something like that. And Buddy said, you hit the gym, right? Yeah. You do reps. Yeah. And if you go for a really heavy rep and you fail, do you just quit? No. You go hit that, you try hit it again later. And he goes, exactly. The same mindset should exist when it comes to your diet. The same mindset should exist when it comes to any type of growth you're trying to have, is what I extrapolated from that. Because when we talk about building those blocks, like you just mentioned,
Hmm.
and over time, whatnot, there's a piece in there that I want to talk about, and that's failure and grace.
Hmm.
Because failure, if you look at it as failure, is failure. And to a certain extent, failure is failure, right?
Yeah.
A lot of F words in there. But to another extent, it's a lesson learned, right? It
Hmm.
can be if you to look at it like that. And you have to, I have to, I don't know what you have to do. You do what you want, right? If you're listening,
Hmm.
right? But what I try to encourage myself to do and others to do is look at the grace that you need to get back to that rep, because it's really easy to get down. Like you said, once one thing falls out of alignment, you can start pointing the finger. I'm terrible. That self talk starts eating. Now your thoughts are
Right.
intention wrong
Yo,
way.
yo, you're right. Like, think about it. You could have a slice of cake, and the second you have a slice of cake, even though you like weren't supposed to, let's say, you'd be like, "Well, you might as well finish the whole thing." It's like, no, or you could just have the slice of cake. Like, you could just have a cookie. Like, you don't have to eat the whole pack. Like, a
Right.
mistake is a mistake, or like. And so the only thing I would say on that is, as I would challenge the thought of failure. I would just challenge it just a little bit. I would only call it failure if there wasn't improvement. Now, improvement, like if I continue to take those same actions and I'm actively not improving, right? Like, 'cause the thing is, I'm gonna fail. Like yo, we ain't got enough time to talk about how many times I've failed. It's just we none of us got time for that. I've had way more failures than I've had successes.
100%.
Now that being said, and I'm actually calling them failures, like failed. But I've learned, and that's where the grace piece comes in, which by the way I'm horrible with.
Mm.
I've
Oh man.
learned that okay, that didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's a shift.
The shift.
Okay, everybody listening, you've been programmed, and I'm not gonna unpack that. Take it for what it's worth. Go watch The Matrix. All right, if you want a over complicated version of what I'm about to say. You've watched things, you've listened to things, you've been around people, you were in school for 18 years or however long you were in. The bell goes off, you get up, you do the homework, you study for the exam, not for the actual thing to learn. Like you have been programmed. You grab your phone every 5 minutes. You scroll social media for an hour plus a day. Your screen time notification comes on one day a week and lets you know, hey, you've been on your phone for 8 hours, right? And then you wonder why you don't have good sleep and why you have high anxiety and all these things.
Yeah.
If you can come to a level of awareness in that and understand that, hey, marketing works, like credit card companies spend billions of dollars in marketing. So if they're spending billions, how much do you think they're making?
Right.
Billions a year. So they're making hand over fist that. You're being marketed to regardless, right? Like, and it's not a political statement. I'm in the realm of self development, right? You're being marketed to in a variety of ways. Your favorite rapper, your favorite actor, your favorite actress, your favorite TV show. You're being marketed, right? If I can understand that I'm 33 years old, I have been fed whatever I've been fed for however long I was unintentional about it. So yes, like ask yourself, why am I doing certain things? Why do I value certain things? Why do I care about certain things? If you have a legitimate answer that you've unpacked, congratulations, you have some level of self-awareness. But if you can understand that you're making decisions consciously and subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, hence the subconscious, right? Actively choosing to not be intentional is no different than just not being intentional,
Right.
right? You're making a decision whether you realize it or not. And you realize that you could be programmed. Just take a second, take a breath, and be like, I could probably leverage this then. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm intentional about what I'm consuming, if I'm intentional about what I'm trying to program myself to do, right? So for example, failure. When you were a kid, you got red X'd and red penned and blah, 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 right? It looked bad because you had a low grade. Like, so of course you're not going to want, you fear failure. But
Kids will make fun.
on the other side of failure is potential success. So
Hmm.
I have to know what's wrong in order to be right,
Hmm.
right? So that means I may fail. But on the other side of that, should I continue to pursue it with simple adjustments along the way, I actually may be successful. So I don't look at it as it's only a failure to me if I don't adjust the habits and belief systems that I have in place in order to be successful in the thing that I'm trying to pursue. Right? I may
Right.
not be the best runner, but I can be better than I currently am. Right? I may
Hmm.
not like people like I've literally said the statement before. Like I personally, I truly believe that I could do anything in any capacity because there's systems in place to learn things. Like I'm not saying I'll be
Right.
the best surgeon, but do you mean to tell me that you've taught people 18 years of school, 4 years of college, another 4 years of medical school, 2 years of residency, and so on and so forth? Like, every surgeon's a really good surgeon.
Mhm.
Every drill sergeant's a really good drill sergeant. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Amen.
every teacher's a really good teacher. Every politician's a good politician. Like, unpack that, right? So I could do the thing.
Hmm.
I just have to actively, like you said, be intentional about the thing I'm trying to pursue. So if I just shift, right, like, oh, failure, it's this scary guy in the corner. It's like, no, I've learned. Like, I put myself in the arena, which is probably the hardest part. I
Hmm.
fell down, I scraped my knee. I go, that sucks.
Yep.
All right, what can we do better next time?
Yep. Yeah. No, I would double down on that with um as a recruiter, I go back to this time because it was so like I learned so much about myself and others and I that I really needed to tap into. And one of the things that I think even if I wasn't like successful in the sense of like for one, I didn't get a lot of contracts, right? But even if I wasn't successful in getting the person to commit to the army, um, what I was successful in was learning how to identify that alignment and then helping the alignment, well, identifying what a person was interested in and like in their hearts, and then weaving that into what the army is, right? And sometimes it wasn't, right? It
Mm-hmm.
didn't align. But that was the thing that when people did commit, it was always because they more than likely saw themselves in a way that was programmed for the failure. And I would tell them, hey man, look, it's opportunities over obstacles, right?
Facts,
We can look
facts.
at those obstacles and say, this is what's in my way. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to blah, 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 blah. And we can make all of these reasons why we can't because we've been programmed to not want to fail. But if we take the opportunity, much like you said, on the other side of that obstacle, right, it's over. I would say this at the academy, and people would think I was joking. When they would line up for the 2 mile, I would say, hey, sergeants, as soon as it's done, it's over. And they would nervous laugh because some of them knew it was going to be a long time before it was over, right? But but the concept was really true, right? As
Yeah.
soon as you're done, it's done, it's over. Like move on,
Mm-hmm.
go to the next thing, go to the next challenge, and be done with this thing, and go do the other thing, right? So yeah, I think the alignment piece is huge, and just going back to the thread, and really tying that back is you're who you are. If you have a sense of who you are, who you want to be, what you aspire to be, the situation, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, internal, external, doesn't matter. You apply those truths about you in different ways and it presents differently. And I think that's probably one of the things that um, is hardest to recognize is that what was true for you at 10, 18, so on and so forth throughout various periods of your life doesn't mean that's true for you now. And it doesn't mean that it has to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest fears as a drill sergeant was, and even now, like I don't like waking up early. I don't get to places early. How in the hell am I going to be a drill sergeant?
Yeah.
I I think other than some extenuating circumstances, maybe late a handful of times, right? For
Mm-hmm.
something, but that was habitually who I was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But who I also was somebody who didn't want to let my teammates down and didn't want to be the weakest link and wanted to no, I wanted to be the best that I could be showing up for my teammates and for myself and for my name, right? And
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that if I said I'm always late, I'm always going to be late, and I'm gonna fail here.
Mm-hmm. Bro, oh man, you you got me going, dog.
Let's go.
I struggle. I struggle with trying to understand why people identify with things in that manner. Because your thoughts and actions compound over time. Like you can never escape your head. So like
Mm,
everybody does negative self-talk, right? So if I don't understand that, that means I'm just aimlessly doing that regardless whether I realize it or not. Like the
mm,
being late thing. This always comes up, man. I try to, another passion project I have is trying to help young men be better selves for those around them, right? Because we talk about alignment. Before we move on, we talk about alignment. I first and foremost, it's not alignment with myself and my formula. My personal formula is alignment with my creator. Then it goes to me. Then it goes outward, right? Because I can't serve others if I can't serve myself. I can't lead others if I can't lead myself. So I have to be in
right.
alignment with who I call to, which is my heavenly Father. Then it's me. Then it's outward. That's first and foremost. But like I just find it so funny, bro. Like people like these labels, dog. Like, and I know it sounds hypocritical because I'm like, okay, you're an athlete. Okay, you train. But I'm leveraging like a social aspect that exists to
Mhm.
identify and compound the actions that I'm trying to make. But like, for example, an easy one that I use all the time is people, I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie.
Right,
Hey,
right.
Adame, you know who likes food?
Everyone.
Every living, breathing creature on Earth.
Yeah. Facts.
I'm just let that
100%.
one breathe. I'm gonna let that one breathe for like another second because I just need a breath. Like that hurts my brain, dog. But we do things like now that's a social aspect. I understand. I understand why people do that to an extent. Like I get it, right? It's cute. Call yourself a whatever. Try food places. Like, bro, I go to new restaurants all the time. Like because it's a restaurant I haven't been to. I'm not going because I'm a food connoisseur. Like what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, I'm gonna get off that. But we say things like, "Oh, I'm always late. Oh, I'm disorganized," and it's like, okay, like I don't mind those statements. Make those statements. Make those realizations. But my follow up question is like, all right, what are you gonna do about it?
Right,
Like, because you may not care. Like, if you legitimately don't care about being late, then like, all right,
huh,
cool. Like, then why do you feel the need to tell me? You know what I'm saying?
right.
Okay. Oh, I want to make improvements. Okay, how? Well, I don't know. All right, do you have an iPhone? Yeah. And if you do, right? Like, okay, you have an iPhone. Because I don't know about Droid, right? So do your research. On the iPhone, you could actually turn off the snooze button. You could turn
Mm,
snooze off. Okay. Because if I know I'm gonna snooze, if I can turn it off, I've removed the ability to snooze the button or hit the snooze button. I can't. Okay. Yep. Thought, action. Here's
mm-hmm.
another one. Um, Setting multiple alarms. I know, like, oh, I set an alarm, then I set a 5 minute alarm, then I set a 5 minute alarm. So I've already given myself a way out. I'm closed. Thought and action, right?
Mm-hmm.
One alarm. No snooze. Maybe the volume's high, so I don't want my wife and my baby to wake up. Maybe I put it out of arm's reach because I'm likely to grab my phone, turn it
Mm-hmm.
off. I'm still in bed, super comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, back. Oh no. And then your whole day starts off on the wrong foot because you're behind.
Yeah.
If I put it across the room with no snooze, volume high, what's the percentage I'm gonna get out of bed to turn it off?
You got to at some point.
100%. Now, I'm not saying instant. I didn't say instant.
Right.
There's a 100% chance I'm getting out of bed to turn it off. Even if my wife wakes me up, elbows me in the face, says, turn it off. I
Right.
have to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, action. Okay. Now, I'm likely to hit snooze and go back to bed. That there's a 80% chance I'm going to do that, right? Or whatever the number is for you. Now, it's not, now I get out of bed. I grab my phone. I turn off the alarm. What's the percentage I get back in bed?
It's very low. It
It's
should be.
lower, at
It's
least.
lower.
Now I'm not saying zero. Sheets are
Right.
still warm, dog. You know what I'm saying? I got a purple mattress. Your boy be snoozing. You know what I'm saying? But what's
Yeah.
the likelihood I get back in bed? It's lower, right? So and then but again, if I'm in alignment, I'm the type of guy. I'm a person who's going to get up early. The actions and thoughts I have, I'm going to get early. That starts the night before. So okay, now I'm holding my phone. I'm holding my phone. I look at my bed. I look at my phone. I look at my bed. I look at my phone. Would the type of man or woman that gets up early to start their day, would that person get back in bed?
Right.
No, I have my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. You're already moving.
I'm gonna hop in real quick, man. Going back to like one of the like opening statements, great alliteration. But one of the opening statements was like, how do you set in, or Brock asked, how do you set intention or, whatnot? Um, you gotta want it. You've got to want it, whatever it is, define it, and then you've got to really want it. And that's the
Ruthlessly pursue it, brother. Ruthlessly.
and that's what I'm saying is once you start taking action towards that thing, right? Like, so I know I could wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, hit the gym, go to work, and then go to jujitsu every day. I know that. I'm not going to say I can't. I don't want it that bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my priority, right? Like, do I want to stay physically fit? Yes. So I do things, movement, right? Like we talked about, or like you said earlier, motion is the lotion. You got to keep it
Mm-hmm.
moving. And especially, like, I got injured as a drill sergeant, like, like we all got nicked up, right? It
Yeah,
was, I
yeah.
got a thing, right? And so, I'm over here limping into the office, and the doctor was like, he's like, you can't limp. Motion is the lotion. You got to keep it moving. And ever since then, right? Like that was the mentality. And one of the drill sergeant leaders was asking me when we were getting ready to roll out the ACFT. She goes, Chief, how do I prepare for this? And in the moment, I can be dismissive at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, it's just the way I respond.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that, and I looked and I was like, do PT. Like it was just such like the thought
Mm-hmm.
of needing to prepare in a very specific way to just be functional kind of like threw me off. And I think about that. That was 5 years ago, man. That thought sticks with me because it was so vastly different than just wanting something. If you want to pass your test, you're going to study for it. What does that look like? Who knows? It may be different for you,
Yep.
right? But if you want something, you're going to take action towards it. If you
Mm-hmm.
want hey, you're gonna get up in the middle of the night. You're gonna navigate all the Legos and the dogs laying on the floor. You're gonna find a way to not wake anybody up to ninja your way into the kitchen and get the cake, right? So like if you want something that bad, apply that same logic, that same programming to it, as we were talking about, man. So yeah, absolutely, bro. You gotta want it.
And you can't and for everybody listening, there's a difference between him stating that's not a priority right now. That means he's unpacked it. That means he's identified it and he specifically set a standard. Right now, in this season of life, I'm not doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is not the same thing as, oh man, I ain't got time. Oh, I can't. Or must be nice. Wish I could, blah, 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 blah. Like that, those are two totally different things, right? That's why I
Mhm,
said, look, that's why I said descriptions, not prescriptions. Take what we're talking about and figure out a way that it applies. It may not apply specifically how we state it. Like
mhm,
question your actions, question your thoughts. That's universal. How you
mhm,
decide to do that may or may not be journaling. It could be voice memos. It could be videos. Ask yourself tough questions. Seek out tough answers. Right? I clearly identify. I'm not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym and then go to work because I have jujitsu in the PM, and to me that's unsustainable for a long period of time at this phase of my life. I'm training for I would potentially have to lower the amount of times I'm training jujitsu. And if jujitsu is the priority, I would maximize my time there, not to maximize my time in the gym.
mhm,
That's goal setting 101. Like we're planning the thoughts that lead to the actions, right? Like, you know, we just understand that there's a significant difference. I do
mhm,
want to briefly go back to what you said. I know you and I kind of disagree on the post that I had, but some my post basically said somewhere along the lines of, do be the same in every scenario. Now, and what's funny is the day you did it, I had a gentleman comment on it, and I'm open to comments. I don't need people to agree with me. I'm fine tuning my ability to write. I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to publish a book, and it's something that I can see myself doing in the future. I want to get my thoughts on paper. It's honestly like that's y'all are getting an aspect of my journal. Like honestly, like those are pieces and thoughts that I'm trying to work through. So if anything, I welcome comments to them, and challenges like that. I see it as a net positive. I don't understand why people like look at them negatively, right? And he said basically the same thing. He said, I'm not going to say the same thing to my grandmother as I'm going to say to my kids, and as I'm going to say to the guys at the bar, as I'm going to say to my fellas at church. And, you know, I tried the best that I could to explain to him that he didn't realize that there was a massive problem in that statement. At face value, sure. I'm gonna say it to my grandmother. I may not say it to the guys at the bar. But what has been one of the main topics of this conversation? Alignment.
Hmm.
For example, I'm in alignment with my creator. Luckily for me, my standards are set, dog. Like he tells me what I gotta do, say, be, and I at least strive to be those things. All right.
Hmm.
I challenge everybody to do that in every aspect of their life, period.
Right.
Whether you believe or not, right? You call it God, call it the universe, whatever. Know your standards, know your values and principles, and
Right.
execute the actions that fall in alignment with that. So I responded. I said, hey man, I advise everybody to be one human.
Hmm.
One. The 10 scenarios you gave me, dog, sounds exhausting because that sounds like 10 versions of yourself that you need to manage, right? Because you don't feel comfortable enough with yourself to be yourself in all of those scenarios. If
Right.
I would say it to my son, I would say it to my grandmother. I would say it to my wife. I would say it to my brothers at church. I wouldn't say it to the guys at the bar because you ain't gonna catch me at the bar.
Right.
But if I
Right.
if I would say it to them, ask yourself the bigger question. If I would say it to them, why wouldn't I say it to my grandmother?
Yeah.
Is it because
Yeah.
it's out of alignment with your character? Are you violating your integrity? Now, delivery is not the same thing. Would I speak to my grandmother the same way I speak to my 10-year-old son? No, that's asinine. That's stupid.
Right.
But in order to be an effective communicator, I do have to be aware of my surroundings, aware of who I'm around. Because, for example, at times I feel like I do have the correct answer, right? However, if my delivery is incorrect, my correct answer is meaningless. Right?
100%. Yeah.
So,
Know that.
for example, I try my best not to shove my faith down everybody's throat because when I wasn't with my faith, I didn't like it being shoved down my throat. It's something that I believe if you know me, you know that's where my alignment comes from.
Hmm.
My approach is simply, you know where I stand. If you have questions, ask me. And when I'm given
Right.
the opportunity, like this platform, I'll bring it up when it's necessary.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, we could find a local big city with a guy on a standing on the, and I'm going to use my own faith, guys. I'm going to use my own faith. The guy in the big city that you're near, sitting on the street corner with a microphone screaming, "You're going to hell if you don't believe in Jesus. You're
Hmm.
going to hell if you don't believe in Jesus." What is he accomplishing?
He's offending people or he's getting drowned out. It's not
He's
effective.
an, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, that is a net negative.
Hmm.
I believe what I believe. And I do believe if you don't accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior, you are, in fact, going to hell when you pass.
Hmm.
I'm probably not going to lead with that, though.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, do you know when you die, you're going to hell? Wow, you're a delight to talk to.
Yeah, right.
Or hey, do you know all of the things you have to do to get in shape? You have to do these 20 different things and make it a lifestyle, and you can't do this, you can't do that. Right? When people work with me, bro, like I have clients. When they come to me and I ask them, hey, what you been doing? They'll be like, oh, I'm eating 2,000 calories. And I'm like, fam, you're 250 pounds. Why are you eating 2,000 calories? I don't
Hmm.
take away. I add to and take away what's necessary over time.
Hmm.
Right? I want to provide value. Most people know where I stand with my faith. I will have that
Hmm.
conversation when the time is right, should you decide to have it. My
Right.
beliefs are my beliefs, and I will defend them if necessary.
Mhm.
I'm more likely to be welcomed into your circle, into your home, into your life with my actions, right? I embody my philosophy. I shouldn't have to preach it. Now, granted, when it comes to faith, that's a little unique. There are aspects to be evangelical, make disciples, and commune and all that. I get it.
Yeah.
But what the guy over there in the big city on the street corner is doing versus my approach, in my opinion, I feel like what I'm doing is more effective because I'm not attacking you. You don't feel the need to defend yourself, right? So situationally, I absolutely will adjust my manner of speech, my manner of delivery, right? I may temper the jokes a certain way, right? But that's no different than when you're a drill and you have a kid from BFA, Alabama versus the kid from Orange County, California versus the girl from Central Texas.
Mhm.
I can't communicate to all three of those people the same exact way. It's not it in order to be effective and reach the masses or reach more people, I have to be willing to, like I said, be that warrior poet.
Mhm.
Some people want to skull drag. Some people want to read nice books. Some people want to draw nice pictures. Some people, you know what I'm saying? That's why literally different strokes for different folks. That's why there's country music and hip hop and rap and pop.
Right.
That's why there's scary movies and comedy movies and action films. Like where it's literally that simple. Like, granted, I
Right,
gravitate towards hip hop and I used to trash country until I understood that, oh, you literally can't relate to hip hop because the things that hip hop is talking about relates to my culture, what I was around, what I grew up with. I didn't grow up in the backwoods. I didn't grow up driving Ford lifted trucks. I didn't grow up shooting deer every, couple of months because it's in season. Like I didn't, so I don't, I do some of those things now, but
right,
I didn't do those things. So how could I relate? So it wasn't that, oh, that's trash. To me, that's an ignorant thought. That's a
right,
childish thought.
right.
Understanding who I am first and where my thoughts, my allegiances, my beliefs, my values, my principles are at prepares me to have these types of conversations. You literally grew up on the other side of the country. We're close in age. We have different backgrounds, different experiences, but we get along because I don't look at yours as any worse than mine. You know what I'm saying? And in order to reach you, in order for us to have this conversation, it has to be mutual respect, mutual understanding. And when we come to areas where we disagree, it's understandable because guess what? We're going to disagree and it's okay.
And we should, and that's the part of the human condition. And something I really want to highlight is like the comment of like wouldn't say it at the bar versus how to we briefly touched on this before, and it's like there's a middle ground that I think I'm wanting to like orient. And
Mm-hmm.
really what that is if you do have that alignment, that self-alignment, then when you're in those different situations, and again, as those qualities manifest appropriately, whatever, right? Like there are certain lines you don't cross, there's certain horses you don't ride, regardless of who you're talking to, regardless of the situation. And I think that that is where um, I wouldn't want my message to be conflated with anything else. Right? Is
Mm-hmm.
uh, I just the other day I went we were in a strategy meeting in Army, right? And the colonel was in there. He was looking at some of the courses of action we provided, and he heard a statement. He goes, "That's a bold move." And I just so happened to be getting up, walking out, and I was like, let's see if it works out. And then like everybody kind of like just stopped and looked at me, and I looked at them, and I'm like, I guess that one didn't hit too well. You know what I mean? And it's like that's just the risk I take when being
Yeah.
me. Like I don't like sit in a corner and I think like, ooh, how am I gonna get them today? You know what I mean? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
not it. Like I try to have a cheerful disposition. I try to look at the lighter side of things. I like to bring levity to situations. I also like to try to think of really really broad ideas, and you name it, whatever, right? And I try to be integrous, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
integrity is and I didn't necessarily grow up with integrity. You know what I
Same.
mean? Like, you know what I mean? And so like when like the army values have really become a part of who I am, right? As corny as that sounds, right? Boom. Hit
Bro,
them
they're
with
written well when you think about it. I don't care what anybody says.
they're really solid, right? And if you're from anywhere around the country, like you mentioned, or the world, depending on entry standards, whatnot, like they're understandable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Concepts, and they apply in so many different ways. And so like those have been like the baseline of my values. And so when it comes to like what it means to be to have like selfless service, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a situation where somebody is saying something wildly inappropriate that I deem wildly inappropriate, I'm not necessarily going to hop in and be like, and here's my 2 cents, right?
Yeah.
It may be we might need to chill, And so with that being said, people often like, you know, you can't be like this all the time. It's always ho 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 army army army, and I'm like, it's pretty much the same dude, different scenarios. You know
Yep.
what I mean? But they best differently. I generally may talk less in a group of people, right? But when I do talk, I'm probably still going to try to bring some humor, try to bring some insight. These things that are just a part of who I am, and those things that are more on the extremes. You know, very rarely are you going to see me step outside of those parameters that I have built around my values. You know what I mean? And I think that's going back to that alignment piece that we keep touching on is when we make that connection, we have to stand fervent
Mm-hmm.
on with that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Or we risk being influenced in a way where we look back and we say, damn, that was something that was not only a failure, but was avoidable. And
Well,
that was
think
all. What?
no, I was gonna say because think about it, right? Like think about what you just said, that very last point. Because if I don't know, right, it's the old adage, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Like you can like I said, you're being sold 24, like the average, I think the average person sees like somewhere over 500,000 advertisements a day, right?
Mm,
Like every other message on Facebook is some type of advertisement, right? They're advertising, they're using means to get to you, right? If you don't think they're using that for their benefit, i.e., make money, or their benefit, i.e., maintain or gain more control, like you're just allowing yourself to be manipulated. So, like you said, like if I'm not walking in alignment, if I'm not unpacking my values and principles, if I'm not putting myself to the test, if I'm not doing hard things, when hard things happen, I'm going to fall and fail. When I don't know what I stand for, I'm not going to stand on integrity because I don't have it. And that's so. And for now, if that's where you are, that's okay. What my I have a personal message to myself that I repeat in the event that I need to question something, right? It's my own. I have a value statement, my own, like my own mantra for me, written for me, right? And I lean on that. And one of the statements inside that is integrity. And I have three things within that statement, and the reason why I have integrity is because that's those three areas are the biggest areas that I lacked, right? Which is
mm.
why those three are incorporated, right?
Oh,
So,
that's
but again, like it's not until I do that self assessment, it's not until I understand, because the thing is, like, you develop one for you,
mm,
right? It's taken me, brother, it's taken me years to develop the one for my family. I already have a 10-year-old son, and the one for my family isn't quite complete. I don't, because I feel like it'll be ever evolving,
yeah, it
but
is.
um, and man,
Would you?
I appreciate this because there's been topics that I've been so hesitant to talk about, and we talked about it a little last night, which was I've been asked about a lot of these things, and I've kept them to myself because I didn't feel like I was the one to talk about them. And this conversation, the support that we've received even during, has shown me um that this was another thing that I've delayed far too long. um so I don't mind sharing mine.
Yeah,
Um
please.
and man. All right. So this is so if I'm put in a position to that I'm not sure, because you could plan, but you can't plan for everything. But if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And I personally recommend everybody do a version of this, whatever yours is. But let's say something pops up, and I'm not sure. My statement is I am Kyle Fernandez. I'm a man of integrity, honor, and accountability. I am a son and a warrior of the one most high. That is my statement that I have for myself. So I ask myself, would a man of integrity do this? No.
Mm-hmm,
Would a man of honor do this? No. Would a man of accountability do this? No. And I probably shouldn't be doing that thing.
mm-hmm,
That that's my filter. That's my process. Because again, I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes and I do fail. And does that line that I curated over time and have leaned on in times of need always work?
mm-hmm.
No. But if I haven't laid something out like that, right? If I know myself, like crackheads should probably recovering crack addicts probably shouldn't be going into the crack house.
Let's start.
You know what I'm saying? At the very minimum, right? So like if
Yeah.
I know that there's certain things about myself that I'm working on or they're not there yet or they're not fully developed or whatever, I
Mm,
can have my again, you've heard me say it a bunch of times on this call, values and principles, right?
right.
Alignment, right?
Mm,
Integrity, honor, and accountability. And then I
yeah.
remind myself that I'm a son of the Most High, and I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely am a warrior. We're all warriors, but I legitimately believe that like I was built to be specifically a combative individual.
There we go. I mean, I believe it too. Um,
Oh,
no,
facts, facts.
and look, man, I think it takes a lot to be able to get up here and again really get vulnerable, really share something personal. And so I commend you for that. Number one. Number two, when it comes to, well, thank you, right? Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
So certainly past that. Um, but I think the other thing I want to hit on with that is, it's a North Star, it's an orienting, kind of device. And you mentioned that it evolves. For one, you curated it over time and then it evolves, right? And again, like that speaks to the fact that like things will fall in and out of what matters to you and how you navigate that, how you integrate that is really a question you like. It's an audit, right? When I look at where
Yep.
I'm at now, maybe some of the things that are on the peripherals and where do I want to go? Is there something that I need to fight to keep? Is there something I need to fight to integrate? Is there something that I need to fight to get rid of?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And those are all things that we've talked about like throughout this conversation. And I just really think that that value statement is huge because, like you said, in 2 years or when your son is a teenager, or whatever, like going into the, like, 18, like
Mm-hmm.
the value statement may be completely different, right?
Yeah.
Like, and have
You
to
may learn
incorporate,
a thing or adapt a thing. Like,
and that thing, right, when it's all said and done, like, is hopefully making a better person behind me, right?
mm-hmm.
And definitely talked about this yesterday, so I'm glad this is a transition in providing something that didn't exist for us coming up, right? Um, it sounds like we have a similar shared experience with the kind of support structures we felt we had, right? Because whether they were there or not, it's debatable, right? Because I think there were a lot of people there for me, especially men of renown, um, that I didn't gravitate to, or that message didn't didn't hit me because it was preachy, it was harsh, it was all these different things. It wasn't the right time. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
and so, looking back and saying, when I joined the Army, the reason why I wanted to be a drill sergeant is because my drill sergeant, who was not much bigger than me, which I was a small guy back then. I'm still a short guy. I'm not a small guy, right? But I was a tiny tiny guy back then, and he looked me in the eyes during let's go and real quick. I want to just take a step back and talk about the values, right? The Army values were like the first labeled values that I knew. And once they were introduced to me, I gravitated to them because it was already in my heart. I just didn't know what it looked like. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, who did I have to show me what it looked like?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Michael Sexton, right? You got to say their names, right? Um, Drill Sergeant Sexton put me in the A group, and I've never considered myself somebody who was good at running. I have at times been good at running.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I started basic training, I failed the PT test. I was sick, whatever, whatever. Failed the PT test, basic training, 9 weeks, right? Um, and they put me in the A group, and I was like, I remember thinking, I said, I'm like, I didn't get the time to meet A group, and he was like, get in the dang group, right? Roger
Mm-hmm.
that. So we're running, and we're going down. I can't remember Sheridan Road. We're running, and I'm way in the back in the A group, and he comes from past the turnaround point, and bro, I'll never forget. He looks me in my eyes, cold blue eyes, and he goes, "Can't hang with the big dog. Stay your ass on the porch." As he's passing me, right? I clutched my pearls. You know what I mean? Like, yo, who is this dude talking to me? You feel me? And so I took off, boom, right? And I hit the turnaround point, and I caught up to him. And again, when people, it's just funny how memory works, right? And I caught up to him, and I'm like, yeah, Drill Star, I finished like before everybody. And he goes, okay. Like he wasn't like we weren't in the same fight at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But from that point on, I'm like, I want to be just like him. I want to do everything like him. And I fashioned, everything I could about my soldiering off of what I thought he was. And the reason I bring this up is because, like, that was what the value piece was to me. And there were plenty of times where I could have quit and where I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I quit and where nobody would have known the difference. But those values, those creeds, all of those
Mm-hmm.
different things that I was programmed in this sense to do wouldn't allow me to. Like, it wouldn't
Yep.
allow me, right? So when you say you have a value statement and that it's something that you're gonna pass on to your children and things of that nature, right? Like, it's all from the sense that, like, we do have those nodes of support, those nodes of how to do it, those nodes of examples, and those ways that we can pull from other people on how to do it better. And again, just the fact that you're doing this and trying to be mindful about facilitating that for others is really servant leadership, man. And not just servant leadership from the sense of you exercising it for others, but the servant leadership within your faith to do the thing you were put here to do, man. So just really proud of you, and just want to commend you for that and staying true to your alignment.
Man, I would love to give you a response that not that you need validation, but I don't want to sound dismissive. I honor what you say, man. It's just that's the aspect I was upfront in the very beginning that I'm struggling with. But I don't want it to sound like I'm dismissive or that I don't care. Those words land better than anything, man. It's helping be a reason to do what I do because as crazy as it seems, this thing is working. You know what I'm saying? Like, these talks have been an hour. We're about to be up on 2 hours, and you'll be my first 2 hour guest. But long form content is great. Like, you know what I'm saying? And we still have people watching. It's amazing. And I know it's Saturday, so who the hell has 2 hours in the middle of the day to just do something?
Wow,
And
thank you all
so,
who
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. Thank you all for listening, man. If you're still here, great. And if you're watching this at another time, thank you for still dedicating time. Um, and yeah, man, I just want to keep doing this. Yeah, and obviously you got to come back. Like we've only asked a handful of questions. It's just the ability to unpack them and speak on them. It takes it's more nuanced than most people think. And I want to be conscious of your time. So I do want to reach a closing point. What I'll do is here in a second, we'll close out. I'll stop the live. You and I will stay on the call and because I obviously want to thank you both on air and off air. Um, something as not as a reward, that's not right. As a thank you
Mhm.
to everybody listening, I have a note pulled up on my phone. You had me say my personal mission statement. Not you didn't have me, it was brought up and I shared it.
Yeah.
I have 10 family rules that the last time they were modified was September 1st, 2023. This
Mhm.
has been a product of 5+ years now, and this is the best that I've got up till now. So I'm going to share my 10 family rules that myself and my wife instill in our home. If they're for you, great. If they're not for you, great. I do highly recommend you do something like this. All right. So basically, it's going to be a Fernandez blank, right? So I'm not going to keep saying Fernandez, but I'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
Number one, and not the particular order because I haven't even gotten there yet.
Go for it. Let's.
All right. So family rules. Fernandez love their family. Number two, always try your hardest. Number three, never give up. Number four, lead from the front. Number five, win or learn, then win. Number
Mm,
six, believe in themselves. Number seven, tell the truth no matter what. Number eight, treat others with respect. Number nine, don't let others control their feelings. And number 10, love a challenge. And
mm,
directly under that, I have the Fernandez family prays for these four things: courage, wisdom, tolerance, and understanding.
mm,
Now, just a little flag. I'm waving a flag here. Highlight. I have removed tolerance from that combination.
mm,
Um, because I was something that I was working on personally, and I feel like in my life, in certain regards, I've become too tolerant. I don't
mm,
think there's I don't think there's anything wrong with defending where you stand, whether or not people agree with you, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or just downright wrong.
mm,
Um, I've actually removed tolerance from my own pursuit because I've gotten to a level where I can understand others, regardless of my opinion. And it's not something that I'm going to necessarily continue to pursue because it is something that also has been leveraged in many situations, right? If I'm
mm,
too tolerant, I lower my own standards.
right.
So I have those four that like I said, this note is last modified because iPhone tells you last time it was modified, it was September of 2023. Since then, I have removed tolerance, but the same 10 rules apply, and courage, wisdom, and understanding are three things that we as a family pray for. And obviously, situationally and stuff like that, we don't always get to pray together. But myself and my structure, um, and again, like if faith is your thing, great. If it's not, like I recommend it, obviously. If it's not your thing, there are things in motion, whether you believe it or not. I call it God because I believe in a creator. You may call it the universe, or you may call it nothing. If you're still
Mm.
calling it nothing, you're still naming it. You know what I'm saying?
Tell me that
So,
now.
so either way, either way. But you can still, or at the very least, you can pursue courage. You can
Mm,
pursue wisdom. You can pursue understanding. So don't ever think that just because I mentioned my faith doesn't mean that you guys can't do it either way. I
Right.
I still think that things apply. Um, that was significantly harder than I thought it was gonna be, but hey, um, you know, and then just I want each and every one of you, because again, it's here. I literally write notes to myself all day nonstop, and some I just recently started sharing them. Um, but I have another like just a reminder to myself, and it's I'm the one in my family. It only takes one to change the trajectory of your family. You may
Yeah.
be the only one, or maybe you have support, and maybe you're not near your support system. It only takes one, guys. It takes one person to do it. And if you have the burden to bear of being the one, suck it up, Buttercup. You were given that task, crush it. Like,
And
uh,
it's not a, that's it's an honor, right? Like,
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. I
it,
misspoke. It's not a burden.
no, it's just to put that in the frame, right? Like it's an honor to be the one to fail hard.
Hmm.
It's honor to be the one to have that kind of that burden shifted on you because that means that you were trusted with it.
Hmm.
And so those legs are strong. I know we're talking about leg days, right? The
Hey.
posterior is working. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're the one who's tasked to carry it, and it's because you can. And if it's not because you can, it's because you're capable in the future. And you, like you said, try again, man. So I just appreciate you sharing um, that very personal stuff with us. That's I'm just amazed and so proud of you for being able to open that door, cross that threshold, give the people what they've been looking for. When it comes to that aspect of you. And I think if talking about getting to a closing point, I haven't developed anything um like that, but I do have a message that I shared with the BLC class that I think is just valuable no matter where you are, especially if you're starting in this fitness journey and you're scared, and you have anxiety about getting committed to it. um I'll just be, oh yeah, so I'll share it with you, and that is a presence over perfection. Be there, get to the arena, right? Get to the gym, whatever that thing is. Show up to the arena that you're supposed to encounter it at, and be there. Sometimes you're gonna hit the dirt, you
Hmm.
know, um, and especially when you're beginning, you're expected to. It's acceptable, um, but there are people who want to help you succeed, and they will flock towards you if you're making those actions and you're in that arena. There will be somebody there to support you. So don't be afraid to take that first step, or to get knocked down, and just be present in it. Accept it, like enjoy or embrace it as much as you can. Like we talk about embracing the suck. Sometimes it sucks. It's supposed to. It is not supposed to be awesome. If it was, everybody would do it, and then we'd have to find something else that sucked,
Yep.
right? Like it's
Yep.
just the human condition. But you have to be there and then appreciate it when you make it through that, because you were supposed to do that. Whether you like it or not, you're always where you're supposed to be. My time in recruiting was not the most awesome period of my life, but I learned so many great things, started so many great things, and learned so much about myself in ways that weren't comfortable. And it's
Hmm.
only because I was in a place that sucked for me, right? And that was, again, due to my own appreciation of it, right? But I was present every day.
Yes, sir.
I tried every day, and because of that, I can appreciate where I'm at today, which is, people ask me how I'm doing, I say amazing, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? And it's because I appreciated that suck, and I appreciate the suck that I get to experience now. And you know who put me on that? You, buddy. You were running one day. I said, man, what are you running for? And he said, oh, I'm just trying to, get after it or something of that nature. And I'm like, yeah, man, I wake up in the morning, I don't like running. And you said, I look at it as I get to run today. What? What? And so that was like one of the first things that really changed my my real appreciation of every day I get and every opportunity I get, and every opportunity is an opportunity. So thank you personally for bequeathing me with that, man. I appreciate you so much, man.
I mean, I don't know a better way to close out because I sure as heck can't follow that. We're doing a part two. That's it. We might do a part 10. I don't even know. But man, I thank you. I honor you. I uh I wish I had the words to express my deep appreciation. So it's just gonna be simple. Thank you, and I appreciate you, and I'm trying to express gratitude. This meant the world to me. I feel like when I do these, I get more out of it than anybody listening. I feel blessed to know quality individuals that I'm trying to, give them a platform as I build a platform because I don't want my voice to be the only one that's heard. I know it's not just about me. I'm just a median, like I'm trying to bring you in, right? Because I'm trying to feature you, and we had points where I spoke and points where you spoke. But your words are beyond gracious. They're beyond kind. They don't feel deserved, but I don't want to dismiss what you said. But I can promise you the same. I've been saying this a lot lately. Um, although I may not, like, I believe you, I trust you, right? You you're someone I deeply care about. So I know you're not lying to me. It is myself that is having an issue receiving those words. So what I can say is, although I'm struggling with that, I absolutely positively can promise that I will do my best to honor them. Right. So thank you, man. I love you, brother. We're gonna stop the stream. You and I stay on for another couple minutes. I know we both got things to do, but thank you so much. The community thanks you. I thank you. There's so much value in this message, guys. We got Chris Adame, you got Reclaim King. This is Reclaim Fit. Remember, it's your life. Reclaim it.
That's fire.
Hey, brother, the stream stopped. So let me stop the recording. If I can find the button.